Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is JLJ Fishing here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys everything you need to know to catch more fall run salmon. When it comes to catching more fall run salmon, there are three major topics: timing, location, and techniques. It is very important to have a strong knowledge on the timing of these salmon runs because you can stalk the weather and find out when the best times to go for these salmon. The fall salmon run is reliant on many different factors which lets the fish know when to start running upstream to spawn. The types of salmon that run in the Great Lakes region are Chinook salmon, coho salmon, and Atlantic salmon. The main factor is when the water cools down. When summer starts to wind down and the sun sets earlier and the water gets really chilly is normally when the run tends to start. Depending on where you live, this can start as early as late September to as late as mid-October. Another key factor which lets the salmon know it's time to run is the weather. The weather plays a very big part in the start of the salmon run because you need a lot of rain so that the tributaries start flowing more. As soon as you get that first big rainfall of late August is when you'll probably see the biggest run coming in, sometimes even consisting of hundreds of fish at once. Along with the rain, we need some wind. What the wind helps with is it creates bigger waves which help give the fish a head start into these tributaries by creating a current that directs them into shallower water near these tributaries. When the run finally starts and there are many fish in the tributaries, the best time of day is to fish at dawn and dusk. The reasoning behind this is that these fish choose to be more active around these times because they take advantage of the sun being down and less people being nearby to continue their run upstream to spawn. Now, location is probably the biggest topic on this list. The reasoning for that is because you could be casting in a spot thinking that there's fish there, spending hours when you could be at a prime time spot and not even know that it's a prime time spot because you are fishing in the wrong spot. If you are fishing at sunrise or sunset, the best areas to fish are going to be faster moving water. This is because at these times of day, the fish are going to be actively moving upstream to reach their spawning points and take advantage of the sun being down. If the run has just started, I would suggest fishing more downstream, but if the run is in full swing, you can find these fish all throughout the river. If you plan on fishing during the day, then you're going to have a lot of success in deeper holes because the fish will post up in these deeper holes during the day to hide from the sun and make their beds in slower moving, deeper holes. These deeper holes and slower moving current provides a lot of protection to lay their eggs because their eggs won't go flying downstream and they will be protected from birds or any other land animals that may be scavenging for salmon eggs. Now we're going to talk about the best techniques for catching fall run salmon. There are two major techniques that help guarantee that you will catch more salmon during the fall salmon run. Now let's get started with technique number one, flow fishing. Flow fishing requires you to adjust the depth of how deep your float is so that your bait can naturally drift right in the strike zone of these salmon. You can do this by using a sliding float, which is a float that slides up and down and is prevented from sliding up too far by a bobber stop, which comes in a string that you slide onto your line, or a rubber stop you slide onto your line. Your float is prevented from sliding down by a swivel that connects your main line to your leader line. The size float you use depends on how fast the water is moving. If the water is moving faster, then use a float that can support heavier weight on your line, and if the current is moving slower, then use a float that supports a lighter weight. You always want to match the weight your float can support by using the right amount of split shots on your line. Your split shots should always be applied onto your leader line and evenly spread, going down your line and stopping about 6 to 10 inches above your bait. Now, the size leader line you use depends on the water clarity and current strength. If the water clarity is very clear, then use a lighter line like 8 to 10 pound tests. If the water is dirtier, then you can use 12 to 15 pound tests. On my float setups, I prefer to use a 12-foot long light action rod with 20-pound braided line. Now let's talk about the second technique. And now, technique number two, fly fishing. Fly fishing is also a very great technique for catching salmon during the salmon run. Fly fishing allows you to cast out light lures to get into the strike zone of these salmon. During the salmon season, my most successful flies are egg pattern mimicking flies, woolly buggers, and beads. Fly fishing can be very complicated for rookies because it is not easy and takes time to learn. I will be dropping a video very shortly going over everything for fly fishing, but let's start off with the basics. The best setup for fly fishing will be an 8-weight rod from 9 to 11 feet with a good drag system. I use salmon fly line spooled on my reel going down to a 6-foot 12-pound tapered leader. You can buy a pre-made, ready-to-go tapered leader or make it yourself. Now, the amount and size of split shots you use depends on how fast the current is and how deep the water is. If the water is deeper, then use more split shots, and if it's shallower, use less. If the water is moving fast, then use more split shots, and if it's moving slower, then use less. Now that is going to wrap up today's video. Hope you guys benefited off this. I know this video is getting uploaded after the salmon season is pretty much over, but hopefully you guys, that I know when I first started, I did not have success my first 2 years of salmon fishing. So I know when I got done, I went home, hopped on the computer and looked up videos. So hopefully you guys can use this video for your next season and prepare better so you guys can have a better knowledge and catch more fish next season. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out. See you on the next one.